All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the CHB Podcast. Today, I am joined with the number one Oklahoma City Thunder fan in the world, William Burton. How are we going, mate? How you going?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Yeah, I think we'll get started with the obvious one. OKC, mate. How,
Mm.
how are you guys doing this season? You expected this to
Uh,
happen, or
well, obviously expected this to happen. This was the plan all along to
be
tank
terrible?
and use our 836 draft picks to be 2027 champions. So
You're
that's
drafting a
that's
bunch
all
of
going to plan.
15-year-olds.
Yeah, I've been vividly watching ninth grade basketball to see our future prospects.
I don't understand how, as a Thunder fan, like I know you ride and die with your basketball team, but how do you watch
Yeah,
the games? Like how do you watch the games knowing that 13 of these 15 players are not going to be on the team next year? Like half of them
yeah.
will
I
be
got
kicked out, half of them are just there. I don't know how many of them are even going to come back, do you reckon? Like,
Well, I mean, last year we were actually playing pretty well. We got to around the All-Star break this time last year, and we were actually only 5 games under 500. We were, fighting for a play-in spot. We had Horford. SGA was playing better than he is now this season, frankly, and we were actually going well. And then they decided to pull the plug on Horford and sit SGA for the rest of the season. And then it was basically just
hmm.
the tank was on from there. I think we lost an insane number of games in a row. It was like 20 or
I
something.
remember you went on like a 14 game losing streak or something like that, and you won one and then went on like another. It like
Yeah,
it is crazy to see, but like when I'm thinking of your roster, when I think of guys who are going to be there next year, I'm thinking of SGA, Giddy, Dort, Baisley. I think Trey Mann will be back, but players like
yeah. 100%.
players like Ty Jerome, like players like that, you wouldn't think they're going to be back, right?
I don't know. Not from a season to season basis. I feel
Yeah.
like a fair few of them will be
You'll
back
have
next year.
definitely a completely new roster next year. Like I think 7 players will stay,
But
8 will
the
go.
only I don't think it's more next year as looking at it over the next few years who's actually like the core of our
Yeah.
future, like who we're definitely going to keep, and that would be SGA, Dort, Giddy. I think Robinson Earl's going to be a pretty solid player.
Oh,
Nothing's
true.
going
I
to,
forgot about him. How
but
many
he's
picks
going
do
to
you
be all
have
right.
this
What
year?
do you
How
say?
many picks?
Oh, we've got 3. We've got our pick, obviously. We've got the Clippers pick, and they keep fucking winning, which is so annoying. Um, and we got somebody else. I can't remember, but it's going to be a late. Oh yeah, Phoenix. We've got a late first round
Yeah.
pick. So
Well, the Clippers look like they're about to like tank every second, and then you hear reports that like they're still contending for a play in, and that there's rumors they're going to sit out Paul George, but they're still going to contend for a play in. They're still
yeah,
trying to get John Wall. I don't know what if I was the Clippers, I'd just say screw it on this season, tank it out a little bit, and I think they need to refresh a little bit next season. But like, yeah, that should be an all right pick. Phoenix's pick won't. That will.
yeah. No,
that,
that would be like 29
yeah,
or 30. I'm not counting on anything with that pick,
yeah.
obviously, but
You're
just
hoping this
hoping that.
pick is top 5, and you got to get a center. Like, has to be right.
Oh,
Has to be a
our
center.
pick, yeah. I don't think it has to be a center, but I don't think it would be another guard. I think we're
Yeah.
still in a position where we would draft for talent over need because we don't have that many areas settled for our future. But ideally, a big man or a wing or something would be better than a guard because we've got SGA, because we've got Giddy, and to a lesser extent, Dort.
You'd also like to sign a bench in free agency, right? Like your bench is, I mean, realistically, if OKC had a bench, they could actually be a solid
We
team in
if
the league.
we wanted to be a good team, we could go out and sign more players. All of this losing is by design.
Mm,
That's the thing about it. It's not like it's the Sacramento Kings where we're trying to compete and it's just
I
incompetency.
feel so
It's
bad for Kings fans, bro. They are,
it is by design.
man, they have gone through it. Bro, and I know this one Kings fan, and he talks so much shit. Like, my guy, You gotta learn to stay quiet. It's like, you know, those new TikToks where you see when the redhead or something starts getting too loud. It's like when the King fans getting too loud over there. Oh, they're in a
couldn't
mess
imagine
though.
going for Sacramento.
Wasn't it in like a press conference? De'Aaron Fox legitimately said, "I wouldn't be surprised if I got traded." Like, come on now.
If I was De'Aaron Fox, I'd want to get traded. Fucking staying in Sacramento.
It's pretty crazy to be the star guy and like, you know, there's a chance you're getting traded.
Well, yeah, obviously.
It's
not
pretty
really
ridiculous.
a number one. No.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he's a number. Well, I mean, he was touted out to be such like a dude that could be a top 5 point guard one day, but other guards have surpassed him now, like LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, SGA even. They're all above what De'Aaron Fox is now. And like, if someone wants to like disagree with LaMelo Ball or even Garland, mate, just watch a game when they play De'Aaron Fox, and there's clearly
they've definitely been better this season.
Yeah. Fox just his playmaking abilities a little bit. It can be often questionable. Like, I mean, he's got so many shooters around him. You'd like to see his playmaking go a little bit more. But again, OKC, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but if you could land with, I forgot, is it Chet Holmgren? Is that his name?
Holmgren, yeah.
If you can land with him, I think he's the ideal. I mean, the versatility with having Baisley at the 4, who I think will step up next year. I think he could have a Miles Bridges type season next year. And Holmgren at the 5, the athleticness of those players would be pretty ridiculous. The interior defense wouldn't be great, but like, man, I reckon that'd be fun basketball to watch. You know what I mean? So
there's a lot of people that have been into the draft more than I have that have been talking about Jabari Smith as far as where
the forward
concerned in the draft, who's also a big man.
Yeah,
so I don't really know too much about him, but he sounds all right. So it seems like there's a lot of quality front court players that we could go after if we got that top 5 pick like we did last year.
That was stiff. But at least you got Giddy, right? Like, Giddy, I think, shocked a lot of people, but it didn't shock us Aussies. I mean, we knew how good the kid was.
Yeah, well, we got Giddy out of it, which I'm pretty happy about. I wanted Barnes, but oh well.
That's the thing I was going to bring up in this video. Do you remember what I said before the draft started about Scotty Barnes, who I said would take him?
Yeah, you were high on Scotty Barnes. You said he was going to us, didn't you?
No, I remember like a couple of weeks before I changed. I said Raptors will take Scotty Barnes. I legitimately called it.
That was out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming personally. Before the lottery, I wanted Mobley. So I feel like I picked the best player in the draft there. It's something I could hang my hat on.
That's what before the draft I said to Josh. I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't fully 100% on Mobley and we took Scotty Barnes. And the reason I said that was because I thought Scotty Barnes, his playmaking, his defense was so exceptional that I thought he was going to jump, and he did. The Raptors took him at 4. We safely took Mobley, which I was very happy about. I did want him over Barnes, but I said, watch out for this Barnes kid because, like...
Didn't want him over Green, though.
Oh, over who?
Over Green.
Oh, I was pretty high on Green before. Green. Yeah. Lucky they didn't listen to me, right? Lucky the Rockets were like, hell yeah, Green's the next thing. I mean, he could be, though, but like Green still has potential, but he's... Yeah. I mean, Jalen Green, he's a lot behind.
He just hasn't been as good in his rookie year.
Yeah. He's a lot behind like Anthony Edwards and that were at this age. Like, I think he's statistically one of the worst defensive players in the league, plus minus wise as well. He's got a long way to go. But so does that whole Rockets team, Kevin Porter Jr., etc. But hey, what did I say? Yeah. Scotty Barnes? I said it. I called it. I'm saying it right now. I said he should have gone at 4, and he's great.
I was all over the Scotty Barnes hype train, but I did not think that... I thought he was going to fall to us personally. But I was mad that he didn't.
Are you happy with the pick of Giddy, or would you have rather Barnes?
Oh, considering who was on the board, 100%. It's probably the best player available that's come out of the draft, apart from potentially Franz Wagner, who's come out of absolutely fucking nowhere because people thought that was a reach on draft night.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And he's been actually really good.
the Magic were really like, they had to take Suggs, but a part of me wonders if they regret it. I really don't know because, like, dude, they had the chance to have Kuminga and Wagner, and now they've got Suggs, Anthony, and Fultz, and it's just like, well, oh my god, like, how well, the Suggs. Will he even start next year? Like, I wonder how the Magic are going to go about this because next year's when they've got so many young players on this team, they need to start building somewhat of a foundation next year. And to me, that foundation includes Markel Fultz starting at the point. And I know this might be controversial, but in my eyes, a really good team does not have Cole Anthony starting. They have Cole Anthony as the elite scoring six man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's obviously been good scoring the ball wise this year. Just needs to become more efficient and whatever. But for a second year player, or his second year, yeah, he's been pretty impressive. I just don't know what Fultz is going to be like coming back from injury. He looked pretty good last year before he went down with that, but it's also a matter of whether he can stay healthy.
Or where does Suggs fit into the because like I feel like that's just too many guards, and even though Suggs is so much younger than what Fultz is, I'm really low on Jalen Suggs. Like, to me, if there's anyone that's looked like Dennis Smith in the last how long, Suggs is. He's just Dennis Smith with a better jumper, and it's not as much better as what a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, I feel like there's still time for him. It's not
heaps of time.
It's a bit too early to give up on him.
Yeah. I'm just not as high on him as what a lot of people are.
I think the obvious candidate for them to trade is Fultz.
Just get him out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, injury prone the other two are on rookie deals. So you could have more flexible packages that way. And
who would take Markel Fultz?
Well, obviously there's teams that would take a chance on him because he's young and like I said, he showed flashes last year before he went down with that injury. So if he could stay healthy.
What's the team you reckon? Give me a team, top of the head.
Oh, top of the head. Somebody that's just trying to take a flyer on a young player I don't want to say San Antonio because they've got DeJounte Murray, but somebody that's just stuck in the middle of nowhere and has the time to just take a flyer on a young player that could turn into something.
That's actually good. What I could see DeJounte Murray and Fultz actually working together. I could see that happening. Yeah, well, Fultz is a lot better of a defender than what a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah, he's been pretty solid there.
Yeah,
as well.
And Murray's he's a sensational defender. Like when I watch DeJounte Murray play, when I'm watching him on Garland, even watching on the TV, I'm like, oh, get off him, get off him, let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what an NBA player is thinking? If I'm thinking that watching the TV, the dude just gets under people's skin. He is an elite defender. But
he's grown a lot offensively as well.
Oh yeah, I mean his 3-point percentage I think has improved heaps. So another player, then this has been news that has been going on for I wouldn't say a long time, but this is news that has really picked up traction recently. And that is the Philadelphia 76ers James Harden thing. Let's talk about it real quick because a week ago I was saying no way James Harden leaves the Nets, right? But then there's insiders that have been saying he's fed up with Kyrie not being vaxxed. There's other insiders that are saying that, because is it Daryl Morey? Is that the general manager of
Daryl Morey?
He was the general manager of the Rockets, and he has a close connection with James Harden. There's that in common as well. Plus, there was the rumor going around, I think it was today, James Harden is going to be testing free agency. Doesn't mean he's leaving, but he's going to be testing the market. Philadelphia or Brooklyn, if you were Harden, what would you do?
Oh, if I was Harden, I would probably stay with Brooklyn.
Mm. Do you think?
because I don't know if Embiid in Philly, because as good as Embiid is, I don't know if that's enough. I feel like that Brooklyn team, when they're at full strength, obviously is better than that Philly team would be.
Yeah. The
But that
Brooklyn
being
team's a
said, it
weird
would
one,
do.
dude. So weird to
Yeah,
watch. Because like they the other day they had like two rookies starting, and I'm just thinking this team has so many of these like veterans they picked up, like LaMarcus Aldridge, Paul Millsap, James Johnson, etc. And they're choosing to play rookies over them, which is not a bad thing. But it makes me wonder why do they try so hard to get a player like Paul Millsap, who they're like looking to trade right now? Um, I don't know. I feel like they should just go in a different direction. Even the Lakers are like that. Like the Lakers are choosing to play younger players now, like Stanley Johnson, Austin Reeves, over the old farts like Kent Bazemore and that, just to like give a little bit of, a little
bring
bit of
some energy.
youth injection, a bit of energy to the team. And
Mm.
is it working? Is it working for the Lakers?
Well, obviously not. The Lakers have been
They're pretty bad.
terrible.
And that begs
But
the question: how is it working for the Nets? Is the youth injection, because they had two rookies start the other day? Oh, COVID.
Yeah, got the COVID. No, the Nets are a little bit different. I feel like I haven't seen for a team that has championship aspirations before the season. Obviously not now because everyone's giving up on them. But I haven't seen a team give as little effort on defense as the Lakers do.
Oh
It's actually painful watching them play.
There was a play today. I don't know if you saw it. Lakers were down about two. They've had about 10 possessions where they've scored, but then they've been scored on. And Ish Smith, the man that was hot at that minute, not sexually hot, but like really good at basketball type hot, got the ball, dribbled in Carmelo's face, and Carmelo steps back and gives him like 3 meters to operate. Like, what is he doing? Guard up. Like, who cares if he gets past you? They've been getting past you the
Melo's
whole
been
time.
a
Guard
horrible
up.
defender.
The whole Lakers team is.
Melo's been a horrible defender for years.
Yeah, and then they had a point guard shortage today against the Hornets. They had Austin Reeves playing point guard, but they had Rondo on the team not so long ago who they decided to trade. For some reason, they decided that he was the first one to go. Now he's playing like 20 minutes on the Cavs, averaging like 6 assists in the time that he's getting. The Lakers are just, dude, there's something about them. Like, I don't know. But again, back to the Harden thing. What are the chances that he does go to Philadelphia? Because I also pointed this out to someone today. Jimmy Butler, right? No one thought he was going to be leaving Philly because they had a big super team going on. A lot of people thought, well, he's going to be re-signing. And then Miami basically said, we'll give you the world and prostitutes in Miami. And he was like, yeah, get me in. I was saying to someone today, what's stopping a team from saying that to Harden? Like, we'll give you everything you want. You can come back to being the number one guy. We'll lay out a direction, a roadmap of what our future's looking like, similar to what a Miami Heat did a couple of years ago. What is stopping this from happening? And I'm just thinking, like, Philadelphia, dude, they have a direction. They have a roadmap. They know what they want. They've got some of the best role players in the league. All they need is that second star with Joel Embiid. Because Joel Embiid's a center. James Harden can be the number one dude. He'd have the ball in his hands 24/7. So what's stopping that from happening? You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah,
what are the chances?
Well, that's the reason that I could see Harden doing it is for if he wants a fresh start, if he's sick of Brooklyn, all of that sort of shit. I feel like it would be appealing because superstar players, they all act like they don't care about their legacies and whatever, but we all know that they do, some more than others. But I feel like if you were Harden and you had a chance to go, okay, here's Philadelphia, here's a team that has another superstar, that we could still be a contender if I come along. But instead of in Brooklyn where it's KD number 1, him number 2 and Kyrie number 3, he can sort of be 1A and 1B with Joel Embiid. And so that
get that.
a lot more for him if he does end up winning a championship than Brooklyn, where people say, oh, well, it's a super team. He didn't earn it, that sort of stuff. He wasn't the number one option. So it's all of that. It's more touches. It earns him, more respect if he does end up winning something.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's just sick of Brooklyn.
And people, I don't know if this is a big call. You can call me out if this is a big call. But the Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden are a better team than the Brooklyn Nets right now with James Harden. Is that a big call? Because the way I see it, people will say that KD is better than Joel Embiid or whatever. I don't care. Mate, comparing Philadelphia's Tobias Harris and their elite bench of when Danny Green, he'd go to the bench and they had Harden. So many of these players, Georges Niang is a really good player now. Matisse Steinball, Shake Milton. Yeah. Compare that to compare that to Brooklyn's James Johnson and what they have. I think the 76ers are much ahead of what the Nets are, especially if they, got these pieces. But then the Nets would be adding Ben Simmons out of this deal, though. Think about that.
Yeah.
How elite would he be on the Nets?
Look, I don't know. That's a big call depending on what you're saying, because Brooklyn last year in that first round, in the second round, those first two games against Milwaukee, it looked like they were absolutely unstoppable. Like, if Kyrie and Harden don't get injured in that Nets series, they are running through the playoffs with absolute ease. And I think everybody would have agreed with that. They were clearly the best team in those playoffs. But this year, they obviously have had zero consistency. And it's gotten to a point where even if all the big three are available, I don't feel like they will get past a Milwaukee or a Philly. Maybe not Philly, but a Miami. No.
Okay. I thought I'd suggest it. We're gonna get a game on them. If that was to happen, we're getting a game
next year.
I
reckon you guys are in a similar boat to Memphis over in the West, where you're a quality team, young,
very elite young team.
You're going to take a contender to 6 or 7 in the second round and give them a scare, and everybody's going to be like, okay, this team's for real. And then next year they make the jump.
I hope so. I mean, that's the idea. And hey, if we can make the conference finals, even that would be if we can do that, definitely our best. Look, let's just say we face a Boston Celtics in round 1, right? I'm giving us the win. And if we face a Bucks team, we're not getting the win, right? But if we face a Brooklyn team that has consistent issues with injury, and they throw out Kevin Durant and then a chubby James Harden who has hamstring issues, I'm giving us the benefit of the doubt. I think we could legitimately do something. But again, I'm just joking about Harden. A chubby James Harden with hamstring issues is still top 5 in the league nearly at this point.
James
So
Harden.
Yeah, he's still goated, but I don't know. I have a feeling we could knock one of those teams off. Philadelphia as well. I reckon we could give Philadelphia a run for their money.
Could potentially take Philadelphia.
I don't know. I think we beat them twice this year.
Just because of that lack of a second option that they have, and the fact that you guys have such good rim protectors and all of that. You guys are probably the best equipped team to deal with Embiid in the playoffs and deal with Youngs.
That's what I'm saying. We're a scary outfit. And if you had to call it, what's the furthest the Cavs could make the playoffs this season, do you reckon? Is the finals the ceiling, or is the conference finals the ceiling?
This season, I think with a lot of luck, they can make the conference finals. Again, the only reason that I have a lot of respect for the Nets and still think that these other teams should fear them is obviously because they've got the star power and because they've got Kevin fucking Durant, who we saw what he did last year. He's an absolute monster. We all know that. Probably the best player in basketball, close to it. I still think it's LeBron, but that's just biased. So,
is that biased, William? You're not even a
Yeah,
Lakers fan. You're a
well,
Thunder fan. You should be thinking Josh Giddey's the best
it is
player
from
in the.
my end because I've acknowledged I'm a bit of a LeBron fanboy and I'm not a fan of KD, obviously. So
Oh, I
yeah.
couldn't tell that by your jumper.
Uh,
with with the Lakers, and I want to talk about this real quick. Can we just acknowledge this, that the Lakers' downfall is not at Russell Westbrook's fault? I just want to put this out there. Anyone who talks shit about the Lakers and puts Russell Westbrook in the same sentence needs to have a hard look at themselves, because yes, I do agree. The Rockets were better when Westbrook was on the bench. That's just a fact. I mean, in the playoffs, when Westbrook
in
took
the
a
playoffs,
seat,
yeah.
he was so bad. I can't just
He almost
begin
lost
to
them that
think
series. He disrupted everything they had going.
how bad Westbrook was for the Rockets. I mean, they should have just not even played him at that point. For the Wizards, it was just, I mean, it's the Wizards. I don't really want to give too much crap on Westbrook's part. But the Lakers, dude, it's not Westbrook's fault. I'm going to be the first one to say that if I'm the Lakers, I think their general manager, if he's not the worst general manager in the league, like I know some people will say, oh, it's all LeBron's fault, this and that. It was the general managers. He looked at players like Isaiah Hartenstein and Jock Landale. He looked at them and said, nah, I think 35-year-old DeAndre Jordan, who can't hop off the ground, is a better player than both of them. Now, I think Hartenstein's at this point, he's starting some games on the Clippers, I think. I don't even know, but he's getting good minutes and he's a really solid player.
He's developed into a nice role player, actually.
The inability for the Lakers general manager to scout these players is so concerning. And I think is Rob Pelinka, is he still there? General manager? Is that his name?
Yeah.
He needs to go, like 100%. The only good move he's done is bring Stanley Johnson in. Like, that's the best move he's done. The best move. The amount of things you have LeBron James on your team, and the best move you've done is bring in Stanley Johnson.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many centers right now. Like, he's had, we're like 2 or 3 months into the NBA season, right? He has had 2 or 3 months to scout all of these centers in the EuroLeague and the NBL, etc. He knows how bad their centers are right now. There's a Jock Landale and an Isaiah Hartenstein playing in the EuroLeague right now that he could get in like that. And he continually keeps DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard on the team. Why is DeAndre Jordan? How does he still have a roster spot? Please answer this.
Nobody knows that question. It's purely just because he's a name and because he's friends with a lot of guys around the league and he just has that respect. It's nothing to do with him as a player because he's probably the worst player in the NBA right now.
Am I out of line for saying that the Lakers general manager is the worst in the league? Bring up another name and I will tell you why that they're better than the Lakers general manager. And Lakers fans agree with me. He needs to go. Look, what is he doing?
I don't think it's entirely his fault because there is more pressure on him going into into last off season. To make moves with a 36-year-old LeBron and a paper mache Anthony Davis on a team that won a title 2 years ago. There's big expectations, and of course, I know LeBron isn't the general manager, but LeBron has to tick off on everything because we know how much power he holds. And I don't feel like it's entirely his fault, but of course, just like everybody else involved in that organization, he has to hold some part of the blame because it's a problem that has so many layers that you can't boil it down to one person. People are saying that it's Westbrook. It's not Westbrook, even though Westbrook does play his part, but
they need to bring in a general manager who's not going to listen to LeBron. They need to bring a general manager who has a plan for this team. And I would like to put my hand up for this application personally. Get me in the spot of Lakers GM. I will build you a new team.
I'd go all right as Lakers GM. I'd make them champs in no time.
I've done it in 2K.
Under my belt, I'm sorted.
So much experience right there. I don't I genuinely don't understand how in 3 months the best free agent this guy has brought in is Stanley Johnson. Like,
Yeah,
how? Why?
they also have no cap space.
I don't.
Just on the Westbrook thing with Houston, obviously before the shutdown, he was absolutely electric for a couple of months there, and then
Yeah,
got to the
drops
playoffs,
off
tore
again.
his quad, they rushed him back, all of that sort of shit. Ended horribly, got traded, went to Washington. They started off the year horribly. I remember they missed, like, they had 10 games or something postponed or something ridiculous at the start of the year. And then he brings them back, him and Bill bring
Yeah.
them back, and they make the playoffs and, lose in the first round. But whatever, it's Washington. Nobody had expectations for them anyway. And this year has been disappointing, but I feel like he's starting to turn that corner
I
like
agree.
he does every year.
On the topic of the Rockets, have you heard the Rockets Westbrook thing? How they were willing to trade John Wall to the Lakers for Westbrook and a first. Did you hear about that?
That's absolutely stupid for the Lakers.
The Lakers said they're not going to do it because they don't want to have to give up a first, but they're shopping Westbrook like as we speak, and that's another massive L if you're the Lakers GM. Like, just fire this guy immediately because Westbrook is clearly not the issue. If you remember Danny Green a couple years ago when people were giving him shit, but he had some of the best perimeter defense in the league and would still shoot 36% from three.
Yeah.
These players aren't hard to find. All you need to do is insert one of them into the starting lineup, and then LeBron as a shooter and a guy he can rely on defensively. And for God's sake, so when it comes to Frank Vogel, I have this issue where, and I don't know if this is the Lakers GM or Vogel, but how is a defensive-minded coach who the only thing he was good at was defense playing a small ball team with Stanley Johnson at the 5? What happened to JaVale having these tall centers and then having AD at the 4? Why did that idea just get chucked up and thrown in the bin? They did it with Montrezl Harrell. They brought him in and Marc Gasol. What happened to this interior defensive center? Like, if I was the Lakers, all you need to do is bring in a younger JaVale McGee and a younger Danny Green, and you've got an elite starting 5 again. You just got to hope that AD and LeBron stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. Those two players are much better than a Carmelo Anthony who does not defend at all, and when he shoots threes, does not look at the ring. I mean, literally doesn't look. He looks at the ground, shoots threes. It's hilarious. And a dude like Austin Reeves, like, how hard is it to get 2 better players than them? Like, free agency can't come quick enough for the Lakers. If you were the Lakers, at the top of your head, what do you think about Frank Vogel? Does Frank Vogel need to be fired, or is this more on the general manager's side? Because he's clearly proven he had a game plan and a scheme when he had JaVale at the center and Danny Green at the 2. Whose fault is this, and is it any on the coach?
Yeah, look, I feel like it's, like I said before, there's got to go, the blame has to go to everybody involved, and Vogel has run some really fucking dumb lineups this year. Like, he played, at the start of the year, he was playing DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard in the same lineup as Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. It doesn't take a fucking genius to figure that that's not going to work, right? Because both of those centers are washed, and number 2, 3 guys on the court that can't shoot. LeBron's your best shooter on the court. That's never going to work. But again, don't think it's entirely his fault. This roster is obviously poorly constructed from top to bottom. The top pieces are talented, but they don't fit. They have no depth. The bottom pieces are fucking DeAndre Jordan. Don't need to say anything. And they just don't give effort. They don't really do anything. They're just sort of humming along, and they're staying at 500 with 2 of the arguably top 5 players in the NBA and a guy who was still an all-star caliber player up until this season. And I feel like if he does his mid-season turnaround like he does every year, the perception on him will change again like it does every year.
Do you know why I don't think that will happen with Westbrook this year? Did you watch the Hornets
Mm.
game? I reckon he could have
I
had about
did not
15
watch the Hornets
assists.
game.
I reckon he could have had about 15 assists. He probably finished with like 8, but he could have had like
Yeah.
15 or 20 if Carmelo Anthony actually looked at the ring when he shot, and players started hitting like consistently. Like this team, it's not hard to fix. Like
No.
seriously, if you are all in with LeBron and AD, if you have to give up 4 first-round picks in the offseason to bring in a bunch of solid role players, you're doing it. Because you've got players on the team now where you can still match contracts. Like next year, I think they'll still have a mid-level exception. So there's a player you can bring in on $7 million. He'll do a job. You got Horton Tucker who's on $10 million. You trade him with a first-round pick or 2 to bring in a dude like Miles Turner. How perfect would he be for the Lakers, you know? So
yeah,
it's really not that hard. You just got to get a new GM. Like get rid of the guy that's there right now. And then if you find a better coach than Vogel, maybe explore it. But I wouldn't fire Vogel because, I mean, God, look at the team he has. It is.
Yeah, exactly.
When you give a defensive-minded coach DeAndre Jordan as his center, there's going to be issues, right?
Yeah, look, I don't think firing Vogel is necessarily the answer if they get along in the season. AD comes back, they gel together because they didn't play that much, and I think their defense will be okay. I don't think it'll be great like it was in the last 2 seasons, but I think it'll be just fine. The offense is still an issue, obviously. I don't know the answers for them, but the one thing that I'm dead set that they should do is trade Horton Tucker because he just has no purpose on this team at the moment. There's no place for him, and if he's the only person that has any sort of trade value that can improve them, he just has to be moved.
I completely agree. And like, if you were given the opportunity, so like everyone's giving up on the Lakers right now, but I feel like there are a couple moves that like could simply fix them like that, you know, like trade up. So Miles Turner's value is super high because so many teams need a center like him. From what I've heard,
every team in the NBA would take a player like Miles Turner.
It's 2 solid role players, a first-round pick, and a protected pick. If I'm the Lakers, I'm giving up. If I'm the Lakers, I'm giving up. Horton Tucker, a first-round pick, and a protected pick, and whatever other role player they want, whether that's a Kent Bazemore, who might have played good against the Hornets and shows he could still be a right player in the league. And you'd bloody hope that the Pacers accept that, and that's the best offer they get. Considering the Lakers aren't that good this year, that could be like pick 18 or something for the Pacers, which they may take. Automatically, he adds 3-point shooting, which they don't have, and interior defense. Finally gives Vogel someone to work with, and AD some help, you know?
Yeah.
Next move?
If I had to guess, I would rather them go after someone like a Jeremy Grant than a Miles Turner. I know he said that he wouldn't want to accept a role where he wasn't a primary offensive option, but I don't think the answer for this team is to find another big man because they are clearly lacking in perimeter defense, and I feel like if they put AD at the 5, that would solve most of their center positions if they could surround him with more competent wing defenders, because he's not Rudy Gobert. You can't just funnel in all the driving players to Anthony Davis and he's just going to send them all back. That's just not going to happen. You need to surround him with some competent defenders to make that a good defense.
That's really interesting. So you do think they should find a 4 that is an elite perimeter defender over a 5 who is an elite interior defender?
Yeah, I think they need a long wing who can stretch the floor and play some perimeter defense and occasionally do some shot creation. Basically, Jeremy Grant that might not be Jeremy Grant because apparently he wants to be a fucking superstar when he's clearly not now. But that's what has to get done, and you have to have him as a rental. Might even be worth it for that if you only have to give up Horton Tucker and a pick or 2.
The only way I would start AD at the 5 is if I had a center off the bench that could also interior defend. Because one center that can interior defend is not enough. They need another guy. But there's no one out there. Realistically, there is no one out there now. All the smart teams have picked them up. Like all the smart teams have managed to go out and get them. And the ones that are up for trade, like Mo Bamba right now, dude, they're not going to want THT. Why would they want Talon and Tucker?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But I don't mind that opinion by you. So you think Jeremy Grant is the guy? They should go full steam ahead for him.
He would be the ideal target, yeah, or somebody that's, of that mold where you can be that elite 3-and-D guy and obviously do a little bit of shot creation on the side because Lord knows they need that when Westbrook and to a higher extent LeBron is off the floor. They still need that. So.
Like some shot creation here and there. The other thing, which is the worry, and I think Lakers fans would agree with me on this to oppose your opinion here. The last time the Lakers traded for someone who didn't want to be there, it didn't go too well. And I think you remember the whole Dennis Schroeder thing. He said before he got traded, I don't want to go here.
I don't want to go to the Lakers, yeah.
It seemed like he wanted to play for a small market team like OKC, but then he went to the Celtics. And
he was perfectly happy with staying. He was perfectly happy with staying in OKC. But obviously we were going in a completely different direction. So
I have a feeling you guys might look at him next year. Because if you're going to build a bench, why wouldn't you look at Schroeder?
Yeah, look, I don't think so. I think we're a year away from wanting to actually
get a bench. Give it one more year then, I guess. But yeah, again, on that, what do you say about that? Like, do you just say, well, screw it? Look, it didn't work with Schroeder, but can you get it to work with Jeremy Grant? Is that...
Well, I mean, if you're giving up Taylor Horton Tucker, he has no place on this team anyway. He has value outside of the Lakers, but to the Lakers, as it stands right now, he has no value. He's the missing piece that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
at the moment. So he needs to be moved. And if it is for a 1-year rental of Jeremy Grant, if you think that can go away towards fixing these problems that you have, then shit, I guess, because it's championship or bust at this point. LeBron James is 37 years old. He's not going to be going like this forever. He's already started getting injured, which I think an underrated part of why they went after Russell Westbrook was the fact that Anthony Davis is made out of paper mache and can't stay on the court and looks like he's going to fucking die as soon as he falls on the floor every game. And LeBron is 37 and is already starting to show signs of an injury history. And Westbrook is one of the few players in the NBA that is going to play 70, 80 games a year and is capable of carrying a squad that isn't too good to a lot of wins and raising their floor.
I don't think the Lakers will get Jeremy Grant because a team...
No, I don't think so either.
A team in the Sacramento Kings has come out and has shown the most interest in Jeremy Grant. And
I don't understand.
The thing is here too, they're going to offer him the most money in free agency because Jeremy Grant wants $25 million a year. That's the asking price. And what team's going to offer him $25 million a year? The Sacramento Kings, right? So, and they desperately need a 4. Like desperately. They don't have a power forward. Harrison Barnes is playing power forward. I don't even know who their power forward is. I think Bagley's been playing it recently, but like, dude, the Lakers at this point, I think it's going to be a free agency thing. I think the season's gone nearly. Like, I know there is a chance, but the season's, I think it's buried, right? Like, what more can you do if you're the Lakers?
Look, there's potential just purely because of the amount of talent on the roster and because we all trust LeBron James in the playoffs. Obviously, the man went to fucking 826 straight finals. But look, there's some potential for them to make some noise in the playoffs. But if they went in the first round against someone like the Grizzlies, I would be very, very nervous for them.
They're getting torn apart by the Grizzlies. Like, absolutely, dude, 4-1. Like, LeBron's going to pinch a game because it's LeBron, but they're going to beat him in 5, right? It's just, they're going to kill
even
them.
A team like the Mavericks, I wouldn't feel confident with them against the Mavericks. Look, I genuinely think they're the 6th or 7th best team in the West, and that's what the record shows. So
Yeah.
unless things drastically change, that's where they're headed.
No, I don't think because it's not like they need one or two pieces. Like, I mean, I would have said one or two pieces if they could have gotten like Miles Turner and a Danny Green type of guy, but then you still got to fill out the bench, right? Like, you can maybe contend if you brought in Miles Turner and a younger Danny Green, but you're not gonna. You might make conference finals, but you're gonna get rolled over by a Phoenix or a Warriors or even a Grizzlies. You got to get some luck to get there.
I think it's Phoenix's year again to make the finals. I think they'll beat Golden State.
Grizzlies, I think Grizzlies will make the conference finals because they'll be the surprise team. It's always a surprise team every year, and they'll be the team that gets there. They got too much power to get there. Like, their 10th man could start on most teams, you know.
This might be a controversial one. I could see the Grizzlies beating the Warriors in a series. It would take a lot, but they just seem to lift. They seem to get up for the games that they play the Warriors, like the play-in last year, and all the matchups this season. They're one of the only teams back before Golden State had this slump that they're in right now, and Curry's been playing badly. But they were one of the only teams to knock off Golden State, let alone they did it at home. Yeah, in Oracle. So
the ridiculous thing is to
have a chance.
People must say, "Oh, lockdown, Ja Morant, you've won the game." I reckon that is the most cap. I reckon the most cap you could say, like if you lock down Darius Garland, you could say about the Cavs, because we realistically, our next shot creator would be like Kevin Love. Like, we need another shot creator. But dude, they have role players that turn into shot creators. Dylan Brooks is averaging 18 this year. Desmond Bane is averaging 18. Jaren Jackson is averaging 17. And all of those guys can have nights where they average like 12 per game, but be really good defensively and play their role. But if Ja Morant goes down, a dude like Desmond Bane is probably going to average around 21 points per game. Dylan Brooks, same thing. Their depth is ridiculous. Like, dude, their 8th man is like Kyle Anderson, who is so solid defensively at times. I guess he's an all right 3-point shooter, 35%, but still averages you 8 and 5. Like, they got good players everywhere. I reckon
they've got 1 through 10 players that could give you 15 minutes a night easily on any roster.
Yeah.
All the way down.
That could average you nearly 15. Like, Tyus Jones can, if he needed to average 15 points per game, like, just for randomly, he's capable. All their players are capable. Like, they're ridiculously, their depth is insane. If you had to call it now, what would the conference finals, like, I know it's very early, like we're just over halfway into the season, I think, but what do you think of the teams that will be contending for those conference finals for both conferences, obviously?
Look, I think there's teams that can win a championship right now: Milwaukee, Phoenix, Brooklyn,
Grizzlies.
I think it's next year for the Grizzlies. I don't think it's this year.
Warriors?
I mean, they could, but there'd be too much that would have to go right. The Warriors are definitely there. Just because I think they'll beat the Suns doesn't mean just because I think the Suns will beat them, that doesn't mean that they're not contenders. They definitely are. I would give Chicago a slight chance. Don't think that will happen. And Miami.
Miami, the underrated. They're the underdogs right now. They've been injured all year, and people still think they're like first. And I don't think they've really had Lowry, Butler, and Adebayo on the court together. Like, only a couple games. I think they're a super underrated team.
Yeah, and then there's the teams that are, Dallas have been playing better recently. I believe in them now down the stretch of the season, now that Luka's playing his way back into form and they've got everybody in. Tingus Pingus doesn't look like a 7'3" spot-up shooter like he did in the playoffs. Dallas, Memphis, and Cleveland are those teams that their ceiling, I think, is the conference finals.
Yeah, I think they'll give kind of agree with that.
I think they'll give teams a scare, and everyone will know that they mean business next year. But I think it's just a year too early for all of them.
Out of all those teams that are like a year too early, I think Grizzlies are I reckon they will make conference finals. So like they'll knock off either the Suns or the Warriors. I reckon they'll make some surprise statement, and everyone will be like, "Oh my god, a star's gonna totally come here," and then a star is never. I don't think a star's coming to Memphis.
I think they could get a hold of Golden State. I don't really see a world where they beat the Suns. I just feel like the Suns are, because I've watched both of our games against the Suns this year, and I know we're a terrible team, but the way they just absolutely picked us apart from start to finish, I don't.
Well, they're the best defensive team in the league, right? Yeah, best defensive team in the league where everyone shoots threes, and DeAndre Ayton just runs around setting screens and getting boards.
Yeah,
everyone knows their role. And bro, if you got Mikal Bridges on the team that can guard 1 through 5, like he could switch onto a 5 and guard him. Like, dude, so long. Like, I know that sounds sus.
Slender, man.
So long. So weird saying that.
He's on the court and his arms look like they're on either fucking sideline. Like, it's fucking
arm goes down to the end of the pool table.
I've never seen anything like it. It's like fucking boom gates, just getting intercept steals and shit. But no, I think it's going to be Phoenix and Milwaukee again, to be completely honest.
Ooh, no, come on, there's got to be a shock somewhere, right?
I mean, I think that would be a shock for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are tipping the Nets to come out of the East, and I think I damn well know that a lot of people are tipping the Nets to come out of the East. No, not as currently constructed. No, if they turn a corner, down the stretch, then I might think about it. But I think the Bucks would get them in a 7-game series. Right now, I think the circumstances are very different to what they were last year, when they were obviously going to beat the Bucks in 5 or 6. I feel like Milwaukee have gotten stronger, and they've definitely gotten weaker because they have barely played together and they just don't have any continuity. And like you said, those role players are very sus come playoff time. So
I think I've got Milwaukee, the Heat, I think, might pick off the Nets as well. Because what happens if Butler gets a hold of Harden and Adebayo gets a hold of Durant? Whether they stop him or not is a question, but they're going to hinder their performances. And let's just say Kyrie plays some games in Miami. Well, he's the only one who'd have full flexibility, and he's still got to deal with Kyle Lowry. And then let's just say these 3 stars all counter each other out. Like, let's just say we move them to a side right, and we say, well, both teams needs their role players to stand up. Then the Heat are out here, and they've got players like Tyler Hero, who's averaging 21 a game this season, while the Nets just don't. So that's what I'm saying. If the Nets were to face up against the Heat, I think they might get picked off too. And the Bucks are just, dude, the Bucks, they're so strong. Like, their bench is ridiculous. Their 3 stars defensively are cracked. I mean, their starting 5 has every single thing. Bobby Portis and Grayson Allen are... Why is Bobby Portis better than me at shooting on 2K? I swear I broke the 3-point record on 2K, and Bobby Portis, any night, if he wanted to, could come and destroy me. He's just a god. I don't know why, but I saw this man run up to the line today. You know how centers usually need to catch and shoot to do their things if they're going to shoot threes. Bobby Portis, like, sprinted to the line and just was like, chucked it up.
Flung it up and it goes in.
I'm like, bro, Chris Middleton over here. And Grayson Allen, dude, he's an elite shooter as well.
Yeah, they don't even have Brook Lopez back, who was a really important part of their team last year. I know he got exposed in the playoffs a little bit with his lack of mobility, but he was still a very important piece in like the Miami series and the finals because of all of that. I think the only series where he really got exposed was the Brooklyn series and maybe a little bit of the Atlanta series, but other than that, he's still a key factor, and he isn't even back yet. So they're definitely my favourites to come out of the East. I'm a bit less sure on Phoenix, but if I had to bet, it'd probably be those 2 again.
Well, if the Bucks, even if Lopez plays when he comes back, even if he plays 10 minutes per night or something, are still like a solid rotational dude. I don't know if he'll play much because like they don't really need him, but also just if they need a big man that can space or just a floor spacer, there's no reason to say Lopez couldn't come in for 10 to 15 minutes per night and do his thing. But like, dude, if I'm the Suns and I know that we're the best team in the league right now, I'm looking at the Bucks and they're so close, dude, because the Suns 3 stars, I wouldn't say are as good as as the Bucks, but they're like, Ayton, Booker, and Paul are really solid players. But I just feel like the Bucks have the 1 or 2 extra players off the bench that the Suns don't have. So I know the Suns, they were actually interested in Domantas Sabonis a month or so ago. I don't think he's the guy. I really am strong against that. But if you're the Suns, because right now I still feel like it's a 2 to 4, the Bucks beat him in 6 games type thing. Who's the extra piece? Who could they add to get him over the line, do you think?
I'm not really sure. I mean, they've got such a clear focus on that 2-guard thing with Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Those little fucking mid-ranges off screens is so fucking annoying to watch if you're rooting for the opposing team because it's just so consistent and so unstoppable. But I don't really know. I feel like just another wing. They've sorted out their backup big position, which got exposed in the finals last year. And I just think they're primed to have another go. I don't really know what the missing piece is.
Or am I wrong? Am I wrong on saying that? Is McGee and Shamet, are they the missing pieces that they didn't have last year?
And they really might be, other than upgrading someone like a Jay Crowder, which they don't necessarily need to do. I don't really know where they can feasibly drastically improve this roster. I feel like they have the potential to go all the way, and I think they'll go to the finals again.
Well, they pretty much changed Sarge out for Shamet and McGee. So it's a pretty big upgrade, but also the Bucks brought in Bobby Portis pretty much because Bobby Portis is a completely different player than he was last year. Like Bobby Portis
just fuck in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, but like during the season, Bobby Portis this year, Bobby Portis last year is drastically different. And Grayson Allen, who is
100%.
the big one for me. Grayson Allen is, dude, call him what you want. He's one of the league's most underrated players, in my opinion. I really like the way he plays
this year.
He's starting for a reason. They're starting him over Dante DiVincenzo for a reason. So he's a really solid player. Yeah. Bro, I don't know if Spotify's ever heard that word before.
No,
have to be careful with that one.
They're not ready. They're not ready for the Murdoch kid heat.
Oh no, I'm sure they've heard worse than that at this point.
Well, you didn't invite Xavier this time. Man.
Oh god, that's the last time you came. That's the last time he is ever going to come on this podcast.
The only Xavier, man to ever get kicked off a podcast.
I remember when we ended that podcast. This was for those of you at home who don't know. I'm sure 1 or 2 of the people have seen the podcast and know what we're talking about. I mean, they got it right. We get a couple hundred people that watch it. Surely one of you know and have seen it. This kid comes on and acts like an absolute menace to society, begs me since I was 13 to do a YouTube video with me, finally gets on my podcast, acts like an absolute tool. And then when I end the podcast, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you ended it because of Xavier. And I show Kane my notes and I'm like, bro, my notes ended 20 minutes ago. We went 20 minutes further because of how retarded Xavier was being.
Yeah.
Like, he extended the runtime for like an extra 20 minutes. I don't know what more I could have done there to try and contain that man.
I'll never forget talking about Giannis's improved footwork in the playoffs, and he just starts busting out laughing and being absolutely sus on another level. It's one of the funniest things.
What I don't understand how talking about a man's feet. And okay, maybe that's.
I don't know.
You know, what's the thing too? So Kane, Aussie FIFA, I was about to say Aussie Vlogs, Aussie FIFA, who has appeared on the podcast twice, one as his own guest and one on that episode. I have asked him 3 times to come on the podcast. One today, one the other day, and like one last week. And he's leaving me on delivered now. He doesn't want to come on the CHB pod. And I was thinking,
were you getting him on with me?
It was just wanted to do a separate one. I was thinking, is this a diss at me or what is it? And then I realized he's kind of shut us all out of his life. He doesn't speak to us anymore. The old Aussie FIFA YouTuber does not speak to us anymore.
Oh well, the Aussie FIFA YouTubers definitely ghosted everyone. But
I know.
Yeah, I know what's going on. He's been in old Gregville for a while now.
Too long.
Might be getting out of it. So
do you know?
Hopefully he does.
One of our responses for this, because I have taken this personally of him leaving me on delivered, because I know damn well he's on that phone all day. And I know damn well I'm not the only one who's been left undelivered. Xavier probably texted him about some stupid shit and has been left undelivered. I'm taking this personally for all of us. Diss track. CHB diss track. And I'm going to create my own version of the Funky Bunch featuring you and Xavier and maybe Blake McGill.
CHB diss track.
Because we need some
special episode.
We're too white and we all have brown hair, so Blake will add diversity with his red head.
Blake will add diversity with his pale white skin.
White skin. Great. So I'm thinking, and this is another thing. I don't know if we'll talk about this after the podcast, but Jake Paul released a diss track on Dana White today. We might have to react to that one.
My goodness.
We need to. I reckon we make a diss track on Aussie FIFA. So we'll have to see what's going to happen out of that one, but I don't know. I'm genuinely offended.
I have to talk to my manager about that one, but I'm sure we can.
Good for your publicity. That would actually be so funny. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, remember all the diss tracks we did as kids and got suspended and shit?
Yeah.
All that call outs and
sending it to him, it just goes, what the fuck is this?
I mean, Pacers fans, dude. What's going on with the Pacers? Do they it was announced today they're seeking 2 first-round picks out of Karis LeVert. Is that fair? Can you get 2 out of him?
No, I think you can get 1 out of him. He's been pretty shit this year. It was also announced today that the Pacers actually got hold of us, which even if we are tanking, there is no fucking excuse to be losing to the Pacers. That's just absolutely disgraceful. Nobody.
Oh, you lost to the Pacers.
Yeah, nobody should be losing to the Pacers. They're an absolute poverty franchise.
I mean, the one thing the Pacers held on to for so long was depth. And now they just don't have it. Like, their depth.
They just don't have anything. They just need to hit a hard reset. And all Pacers fans will say that as well, as much as they love their players. They've got a similar record to us at the moment. They're 17-32 and we're 14-33. It's rough. It's rough in Indy.
And I've heard that Miles Turner had a serious foot injury that he's still carrying. I don't know if he's playing at the moment, but I heard he was carrying a foot injury and he just hasn't been his best since he's had it. And that's seriously, like, if they wanted a first-round pick, solid role player, young player, and a protected first out of him.
Yeah, that adds some uncertainty to that.
I mean, they're going to get it anyway because Hornets desperately need him. Like, I mean, he's the missing piece that makes the Hornets the
Yeah, I'd want to see him in a Hornets uniform.
Yeah, sure. He's the next. Because like the Hornets right now were the 7th or 8th seed, and I think Turner takes them to where the Cavs are right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I don't know. Well, it depends how healthy Turner is. If Turner's not healthy, then they'll still be worse than us. But if he is, they'll be on a pretty similar type of page. But who's the guy who's the team that takes on Sabonis? Are the Sacramento Kings the team?
Look, I don't know. That's just a really sideways trade for Sacramento. I know there were rumors about them dealing De'Aaron Fox for him. It doesn't move the needle for either side.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely sideways trade.
Yeah, because they're both similar age anyway, so it's not really a. But if I'm the Kings,
though, really cooked because I always think of De'Aaron Fox as this young up and coming point guard, and I always think of Sabonis as a 28-year-old when really he's actually young. But yeah, they're the same age. They're the same caliber player. They're not really going to move the needle either side. So
yeah. Do the with the Kings though, like they have to get someone. And the issue with the Kings is they have assets. Like, I don't know if trading De'Aaron Fox is necessarily the move, but I wouldn't trade Harrison Barnes. You need a role player like Barnes on the team. I'd try and get rid of Hield. I would obviously try and get rid of Bagley and stuff like that. If I was them, dude, Sabonis is only on 19.5 million from remembrance. Like, he is ridiculously, I wouldn't say underpaid this year because he hasn't been that great, but he's made the All-Star team the last 2 years on less than 20 million, similar to Zach LaVine. If I'm the Kings, I'm offering up Marvin Bagley, 2 future first-round picks, most likely, to get this done. And I think both teams come out of that with a W. The Kings finally get that second guy who, dude, if the Kings can't make the playoffs with that core, I don't think they're ever making the playoffs, but you just can't have 2 all-stars like that and all these solid role players and not beat a team like the Lakers right now. So the Kings would need to. But if I was the Kings, yeah, why not go for Jeremy Grant and Sabonis? Could you imagine if they got both?
I don't think they'd get both unless they parted ways with obviously either De'Aaron Fox or Halliburton or fucking both, really, because I don't know who else gets the deal done on the Jeremy Grant side if you're trading Fox for Sabonis. But
no, well, Sabonis would be Bagley, because there's no way the Pacers wouldn't take Bagley if they're hitting a hard reset. A former pick number 2 helps, right?
Yeah, but he hasn't really shown that much. He doesn't have a whole lot of value as it stands right now. That might change between now and the off season, but as far as this trade deadline goes, I don't think he holds enough value, even if he is attached with picks, to trade for a guy like Sabonis, who is, still an all-star. Even if his team's been performing badly and his value might have dipped and whatever, he's still a quality player. So I don't think the asking price is going to be that low for him.
What if Fox and Halliburton were both untouchable? Could they get Grant and Sabonis? How many first-round picks is that?
I don't think they could get Grant and Sabonis in a world where they don't trade Fox or Halliburton. I think it's only really feasible that they get Jeremy Grant. And look, I don't really know why the Pistons would do that, because there's nobody on Sacramento other than obviously Fox and Halliburton that Detroit would really be interested in. I mean, Barnes for Jeremy Grant is just a irrelevant swap.
What's the point guard they brought in?
Davion Mitchell.
Yeah. Why not him?
I mean, I guess that could be interesting.
I mean, he'd be perfect for the Pacers.
Because Detroit have no choice but to flick Grant. But because I'm thinking that Grant has a little bit lower trade value than Sabonis as it stands right now, and they don't really have that many impressive young pieces. And if I'm Sacramento, I'm not throwing away picks for somebody that makes me the 8th seed for a couple of years and potentially leaves. So I think they need to be cautious as far as that goes. If I was Sacramento, order of business number 1 is getting Buddy Hield and potentially Bagley out of town, because Hield obviously hasn't wanted to be there for a while. He's one of the few guys with some decent trade value, doesn't really fit all that well. So he probably needs to go if they can find the right package. And then I don't know whether they give Fox and Halliburton another year to figure it out, or whether they pull the trigger and trade one and just hope to God that they pick the right one.
It's very true. You could also look at it as a Pistons standpoint. Now, they need to trade Jeremy Grant, but if they can't get an offer for Jeremy Grant, worst case scenario is if they offered him $25 million a season, why wouldn't Jeremy Grant come back, especially if he wants to be the focal point of the offense? Is that really a bad thing if you're the Pistons, bring back Jeremy Grant?
Well, I mean, I think by the time they get to re-signing Jeremy Grant, I think they'd be wanting to move in a different direction and completely building around Cade, because it's not just about surrounding them with talent. You've got to, make him the focal point at some stage, and I don't think Jeremy Grant helps them too much doing that. I feel like the whole reason he came to Detroit was he was collecting his bag and showing the league that he could do more than just be a role player and then walking out the door again. I thought that was pretty clear from the start.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to keep him and not lose the value, then they could pay him all that money. But who knows, maybe Cunningham's development goes quicker than or we all expect, and they're stuck with Jeremy Grant on 25 million when they could be using that money to trade for someone bigger and better that fits better alongside the current players.
Yeah. The other thing as well is when we look at it like this, what's old mate's name that plays alongside Sadiq Bey? Sadiq Bey and Grant, I don't think really work with each other because both of them are fours. And they're one's having to play the three every night. And I just don't know if that is working necessarily. It's really weird because both are like good perimeter defenders and good shooters, but somehow don't work together. Like I don't know what they're missing. In my opinion, the Pistons should almost be better than what they are right now because Cade is playing some really good basketball. And you've got role players there, Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant. You should realistically be, I think, quite a bit ahead of teams like the Orlando Magic and even the Pacers. They should be somewhat on the Pacers level right now. The Pacers are 18 and 32. And the Pistons, they're on paper, their roster doesn't look as bad. Nearly as bad as what. Oh, no, what I mean is it doesn't look, as bad as what it is, right? What it is on the record, but it just is. The team is trash, but it should be better, I think. And I don't know if that's a coaching standpoint or if Grant's just not trying hard enough, the inconsistency with Cade, but something clearly needs to change. It's just an absolute pain in my opinion, but is there any NBA things you want to talk about? What is something that you've heard maybe that you want to discuss right now? Is there anything out there?
I'm not really sure. I was going to say with the Grant situation, as much as I don't like them as a team, I feel like the obvious perfect fit for him is in Utah.
Ooh, what would they give up?
Obviously they don't have too many young players that would entice the Pistons, but I think if you're the Utah Jazz and you have to give up two future firsts to get the deal done, then I really think that they should really look into that.
Well, they'd have to match up contracts, right? So who would be would it be Bogdanovich?
I'm pretty sure you could do it with Ingles and who else?
Why would the Pistons want Ingles?
Well, that's the thing. They probably don't want Ingles. That's why you have to throw in 2 first-round picks as opposed to 1, because they have no interest in these older veteran players on these $10 million contracts. But I feel like he's really their missing piece, somebody that can help plug up their obvious perimeter defense problem that got exposed last year and help out Rudy Gobert and also be a offensive option for them, some shot creation outside of Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, because we have all seen how badly he's carried them in the playoffs the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's a good move for Jeremy Grant, because if you think about it, he's going to a contending team and he's getting that status back of being a player that impacts winning while also still being a primary offensive option. I mean, Rudy Gobert is an absolute non-factor on offense other than catching lobs and dunking putbacks. You have Donovan Mitchell, who's obviously the main scorer. Bogdanovich is capable of giving you 20 on any given night.
He's still averaging 18 a game, which is crazy.
But you could say the same thing about Grant. I'd probably put Grant higher in the pecking order than him, or at the same level. And then there's Mike Conley, who's really naturally more of a facilitator anyway. So he could get the best of both worlds by being on a contender and still being a primary offensive option. So I feel like there's a good chance that he re-signs if they have some success in the playoffs and if they trade for him at the deadline.
There's still Royce O'Neal, who would be an incredibly solid role player for the Pistons team if they were to look at him.
Something
contracts
like
wouldn't match up, but and 2 first-round
Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, and 2 firsts for maybe Jeremy Grant and, I don't know, a second or something like that. I feel like it'd be
And look,
trade that helps both sides.
if you're Utah, you are losing like a heart and soul of your team. But like, I think for Jeremy Grant, he could be that extra piece that actually, because that we didn't even really mention them in the finals conversation, conference finals conversation. But if they were to get Jeremy Grant, dude,
That
their
might
team
put
would
them
be
in the mix.
Oh,
Yeah,
wouldn't just might put them in the mix. That would put them, you would think, levels of if they got their, stuff right. You like another shot creator to help out Donovan Mitchell, a dude that can hit the three consistently and defend the perimeter and help out like a lot with that. Man, that goes far. Like, I don't think he's basically an extra 10 points per game off Royce O'Neal, and he's a better interior guy, I think, than what O'Neal is.
Yeah, 100%.
So he's a big upgrade, but it is a tough one, But with Utah, I think they stay underrated. Like they're forever an underrated team, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're underrated. I think they're underappreciated because we all know what they're going to do in the playoffs. They're going to bomb out in the second round or the maybe the conference finals if they get lucky and have some injuries to other teams or something. But I feel like that move could make them a more serious threat than they have been in previous years because teams just have them figured out as currently constructed. Once it gets to playoff time, as great as Gobert is in the regular season, everybody has to play defense in the postseason. And if they're not going to play perimeter defense, he's just going to keep getting exposed. And even beyond that, on offense, they have a problem with having to rely on everything going through Donovan Mitchell, especially going down the stretch of games, which just we've seen time and time again that hero ball doesn't work as well. So
yeah, and once Clarkson has that insufficient game where he's just shooting terribly, Donovan Mitchell's their only shot creator. Once Clarkson goes, and he goes often, like a lot more often than they think. Could Jeremy Grant be that guy? It's tough to say. He wouldn't be the number 2 shot creator you would be looking for. A dude that could be more of that guy would actually be Tobias Harris, but he'd be way too expensive. Plus, Philadelphia do not need more role players. They have 1,400 billion role players. They don't need what Utah Jazz have. They need a star. And that's why I don't think they're going to get rid of Tobias Harris, because once they get a star for Ben Simmons back, I don't think there's going to be really anyone they can get out of Tobias Harris. Because, I can't see it happening. Like, no one's going to offer them a star for Tobias Harris. They're only going to get role players back.
Yeah.
So, but Tobias Harris, would he be the better fit over Jeremy Grant? No,
I don't think so, because
doesn't
obviously
fix the perimeter issue.
The problem is that defense on the perimeter, and Jeremy Grant, I know his defense has actually dropped off a little bit while he's been in Detroit, while he's been scoring more, but people forget that bubble run that the Nuggets had and how crucial he was to that and how fucking insane his defense was throughout those whole playoffs.
For sure.
Emulating what they're trying to do with Aaron Gordon now, and it's sort of semi-working, but he's not the same player.
No.
So I feel like that's the move that puts Utah in contention for the first time with this roster. I don't think they would get past the Suns or a Warriors, but I feel like that gives them the ability to compete.
Yeah, and actually have a chance.
If they're going to stick with this roster anyway, they may as well go all in. So
I agree. Well, I reckon that's all we got time for today. We've actually gone quite a bit. This was pretty rushed. I didn't even really have a full script because we were watching old boy Nick Kyrgios play and see him get that huge W. But it's good to have you on. Hopefully, we'll have old mate Ginger Pubes Blakey McGill on next episode or something like that.
Yeah, if he ever wakes up.
Hold on, everyone's gonna think he's dead now or in a coma or something. No, he's just sleeping for his 4 a.m. McDonald's shift.
Yeah,
tough,
something like that.
Hard yards, that shit. I could not wake up at that time. Screw
you get used to it.
But anyway, you want to say anything? You want to flex that OKC jumper off or whatever? Show everyone you mean business.
The 2027 champs.
Hell yeah!
The lottery odds there going in our favor. We're getting Zion.
Zion,
Zion, baby.
Hell yeah, Zion 2022. Very, very good.
Skinny's
All right.
arm, that is. Not
Yeah,
Fab's
no,
arm.
not the screw fat people. All right. No, I'm joking. Anyone who's fat, I'm fat. Don't get it twisted. William used to be fat before he decided to leave the cool kid clan. So that
Still repping my roots.
still repping the roots. All right, anyone, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment in the comment section down below what your thoughts and opinions on any of our takes. Go check out
bell on for notifications.
Yeah. No, I don't never say it, but do it. 100% do it. And check out the Clips channel if you haven't already for tons of sneaky content. And stay tuned for that diss track on Aussie FIFA if we ever decide to make it.
Must see TV, that one.
100%. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.